Yo, what's going on guys? Jared here. Today I am bringing to you another deck profile and some replays at the end of this because I had a community tab question where I asked you guys what you wanted to see, and somebody commented and said the Bystial Runick deck again, and how some new replays after the ban list. I figured it's been a while since I played it at Nationals and it got a little new hype since it got first place at a regional, so I figured I'd bring it back with some new changes, how I would play it now, for now at least, with minimal testing, and then see how it goes from there. But I think the replays are really important because they give more of an insight to the deck of how the deck kind of operates and functions going first, and how the way you want to build your boards. It's definitely risky, but the payout can be huge. But before we get into that, first of all, please subscribe. And also, I went to Anime New York City, and look at this. Look at this shirt. This is sick. This is my first Yu-Gi-Oh! Merch shirt I've ever owned. I've never owned Yu-Gi-Oh! Clothing before. It's the first time. It looks sick. So that was an instant buy that I saw, so that was super fun. Yeah, so hope you guys like it. I'm going to hopefully be trying to wear this for more videos now, but we'll see how it goes. But again, let's just jump right into the deck profile. Okay guys, so this is the deck list I am currently running for the deck. I know it's a little weird as opposed to my Nationals deck list because some changes had to be made because of the ban list. Now you're probably thinking what changes really affected this deck. Magnamut 1 was actually super impactful for this deck, particularly because this deck's based on advantage and extra bodies on the field. And Magnamut being an extra body that was free essentially, and being able to trigger regained on the next turn and your Magnamut search again on the following turn, really affected it more than I would have liked. But it's okay because the deck is still functional. You just kind of have to play it a little bit differently. So obviously we still have the one Magnamut in here, but we had to suffice with other things as well. If you remember from my last Nationals video where I talked about playing Triple Tactics Talent and Dark Lord No More in the main deck, if I remember correctly from that event, I did not like... I liked them, but they were like bricking me. I was drawing too much non-engine. And it's crazy because I was only playing, I think, 5 non-engine, and like they were still like my draws off Runick spells, and then they didn't do anything, and I would just like lose control of the game because they kept being there. But now I have pretty much made this deck mostly engine now, but because of the Magnamut going to 1, I have to replace it with something else, and that thing ended up being more Blazing Cartesias to be more of a tuner. So now you have more ways to get into other lines, I could say, if that makes any sense, because Blazing Cartesia is very versatile in its use of being a tuner, and now I am actually taking advantage of the fusion option, which I wasn't before because you didn't need it before. It wasn't necessary. It was an option, but with Magnamut at 3, you always kind of had access to the engine that you needed to have access to, right? And now I'm playing the one Granganol in here to be able to send stuff like the Rebellion. I'm not playing the Wellith because, one, I don't think you need it. If you get to that point in the game, you should be winning anyway, and I just don't think it's necessary. 2, like, just space in general. Like, it's so hard to find space in this deck, for the extra deck at least. And I know that some of the other lists aren't playing Duality, but I am very confident that this card is still absolutely crazy in like every way. Like, this card will win you a game by itself, and in one of the replays you'll see like just how it operates. It's so stupid. So yeah. So going through card by card now, 3 Cartesia, and then the 5 Bystials, including 3 Rebellion, so 8 Bystial monsters, 1 Druisworm, not 3, I'm signing the other 2 for certain matchups, but 1 for now, I think it's all you really need. 1 Magnamut, 3 Saronir, because Saronir gives you versatility in going into either sending Regain to activate Beast, or send Rebellion is really important now. If you don't have access to it, you really want it. And I kind of always want access to it, so Saronir is good for that reason, being able to access more of your deck and thinning out like subpar draws with your Runick cards, right? Like being able to get more into your deck, I think is very important. 3 copies of Quem. This is your best starter by like a mile. I am considering playing Branded and High Spirits because that is a way to search this card, but the problem is you need to play like more monsters with High Spirits to be able to use it, and then if you're playing more monsters with it at that point, then you're playing less Runick cards, which then's hurting the Runick engine, and it gets very annoying in deck building ways. So for now I'm not playing High Spirits, but keep in mind that High Spirits is a way to search Quem for a more consistent way to have it. And you could also do it in the draw phase, which is nice, to still play around draw in a sense. So you can go draw phase, high spirits, search Quem, normal Quem, dump out Cartesia, then use a runic spell, chain block the Hugin, bring back Cartesia, etc., etc. Yeah, so you still have ways to play around stuff, which is nice in that one. One copy of Bystial Uber. This card is just a Bystial monster. Again, that is a level 4 tuner, so it works very well in this deck. That is pretty much all there is to it. It being Fallen of Allies in the graveyard is very nice for Cartesia to be able to summon out from the hand for free, so that you can't brick on them, but you can brick on mostly like the other, like the Cartesia, the Fallen, and the Quem. But ideally that won't happen because you're only playing 7, so maybe at worst case you'll draw 2. Any more than that, I would consider it a brick. Yeah, but mostly you just want to see 1, I would say, for the tuner monsters. For this list, we also bumped it up to 2 branded Regain. Regain got a huge boost. At Nationals, I was not playing Sleipnir, if I remember correctly. Sleipnir was not on my list, and I added it because he is insane. As you know, I have been playing Runick for a long time, and the addition of Sleipnir into my other lists has been amazing in every way, to be honest. And in this build, you can actually take advantage of the token as well, being level 4 white, being able to go into a Bystial and Synchro into a Chaos Angel that is full, actually, is hilarious. Just something to keep in mind, and being an interruption in tandem with Branded Regained to put back possibly their light or dark monster, and they will not get a monster back with the Sleipnir, and you get a draw out of it. So Regain becomes more versatile. Also, for versatility with Regain, we also have SP Little Knight. Little Knight is, for its own reason, is broken as well, as you all know, but it is important to know that when you summon Little Knight, ideally you're going to be summoning this using a Hugin or a Jerry, or maybe Granganol, or some kind of extra deck monster is the main point, maybe even a Coral Dragon. Doesn't really matter. You can use, if you have Regained up, you drew it or hard drew it, or use Rebellion to get to it, you can summon that Little Knight, and do not forget that Little Knight can target a card in either graveyard. Either graveyard, that's very important. So you can use your Little Knight to banish your Hugin, your Jerry, or your Tri-Edge Master, or anything like that, just a light or dark, to be able to use Regained and get the extra draw on your very first turn immediately. So it immediately replaces itself, it turns your Regained into an Upstart Goblin. It's very important. It makes Regained way better. Also important when playing 2 Regained. Only the first effect is a hard once per turn. The second effect, if you have 2 Regains on the field, you can use both effects. It is a soft once per turn. It's very important. The second effect is only once per chain, not once per turn. It is only once per turn per copy. So if you have 2 Regains out, if your opponent summons 2 separate times, you are able to bring back 2 Bystial monsters. Please keep that in mind. Not a lot of people know that. Very important. Duality, again, this card's very good. I cut the Malong for the Sleipnir and the Little Knight and the Granganol. I'm not sold on Granganol yet. Please, if you want to play the Malong again with the duality, please do. If you want to cut the duality, you can put back in other options. Maybe that's where you can put in the Lulu and other things like that. Maybe more Synchro and Link versatility, but that is up to you. I am just a hard duality believer. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Being able to go in the Fabled Unicorn off Jerry is broken. You can always recycle it with things like Regained. And, you know, this, being able to go in the Scarrite with Rebellion, there's many options for this deck to be able to use, but those are the 2 main ones that I'm using it for. Next, the Runick package. The Runick package is still the standard best 18 Runick cards, which is Destruction, Dispelling, Flashing Fire, Tip, Slumber, and Freezing, and then the 2 copies of Fountain. These are just the best ones. In my opinion, I don't see it changing for any reason. Some people will say Smiting Storm is better than Dispelling. I personally disagree. This card can actually get value as opposed to Smiting Storm. Smiting Storm's logic is that you can just activate it willy-nilly for the draw off of the Fountain. I just don't think that's necessary. I think you're playing a bad card for like a very unreliable hand type, right? Like you're playing 1 Smiting Storm to freely activate it if you draw it. And if you draw like different Runick cards, like you should be able to get a Fountain draw for 3 anyway. So I feel like you just played it wrong. So Smiting Storm in itself is not worth it in my eyes. And I've been playing Runick a long time, and I think my opinion kind of holds some merit there for that. So yeah, it's a flat 40 for now. I know there's no non-engine in here, but again, it's through testing and how I play it to where that's just the way I have it working currently. Don't worry about the side deck. You can look at it as something to take in consideration. I have very high impact cards here because you need you need to be able to side little and get big value out of them because you draw a lot with this deck. So you want to just draw 1 or 2 copies of the card and then be able to go from there, right? Extra deck, again, we have the 1 Jerry, 1 Granganol, 2 Hugin, 1 Slefnir, 1 Baron, 1 Dispotter. Dispotter is insane in this deck. 1 Chaos Angel, card's also insane in this deck. Coral Dragon, Scarwright, Cheng Yang, Unicorn, Tri-Edge Master, Heretic Seal, and SP Little Knight. The only thing I really want to talk about in here is Seal for weird cards, because I think Seal is, as I said in my Nationals profile, I'm not a Dragon player, so I do not play with this card a lot. But this card is amazing. Like, I cannot stress enough how good this card is. Being able to, especially now, getting access to the one of Magnemite, is big. It's a lot of value that you can get and very important. There's also some other weird game states where you can also summon out the Bystial Luber on your opponent's turn and actually use the effect, which is kind of nice, and snatch steal a dragon monster if they have a dragon on the field. So it's just something to keep in mind. Oh, sorry, talking a lot. But yeah, so that is the full deck, and now I want to show you guys some replays because yeah, I think this deck's a little complicated to pilot, and there's a lot of ways to play around hand traps and make your end board more optimal, etc., etc. So this is the first replay. So here we are going to make sure you draw phase the Runick spell, because we do not have Quem in hand, so we can do this in this line. If Quem's in the hand, you want to do it when you after you summon Quem to special summon. So here you can do it in the draw phase to play around draw a little bit. And then we're going to use Saronir to send the Rebellion, so it's in the graveyard. We can then special summon the Saronir by banishing the other Saronir, which is nice because it's essentially like Saronir acts as just a blank white or dark monster to be able to use here. So Saronir comes in very clutch for this scenario. Then you can use the Rebellion here to activate the Regained. Again, Regained is such a good card in this deck. It is ridiculous how much value this card can get. So here we're going to go Fountain, and then we are going to normal summon the Cartesia. So we have many options we can do here. We can go into Tri-Edge Master, we can go into Coral Dragon, we can do many things. But if I remember correctly, we go into the Tri-Edge Master to get the draw. So Tri-Edge Master is going to draw us another Cartesia. Again, this does not do us anything right now. And then we are going to activate Flashing Fire to be able to special summon from the extra deck. Now keep in mind, our Fountain here is now being chain blocked, so we haven't used our Fountain yet, so we get our 2 draws back for free, and they cannot interact with it pretty much, so we can put back 2 spells, draw 2 cards, so we've already drawn 3 cards this turn, and yeah, so we draw into Rebellion Duality. Now, the funny thing is that we actually sent Rebellion off the Saronir, so we can actually use Rebellion now. So we can use Rebellion here to search Magnemite, and this is where we start getting a lot of value, because of the amount of just draws and searching and stuff like that. So we can do that. To draw an extra card, we hit Runick Tip because we are just so good. Really, realistically, what we wanted there was any Runick card. And again, this is what I mean by the deck plays off the top, as you can see. Like, it's a lot of just like, okay, we're going to set up the board where like 18 cards like make this insane, and then we're going to set it up again where it just gets, if you draw this card, it gets like any Runick card. A lot of times it's any Runick card, just makes it like insane. So yeah, we're going to use the Runick Fountain to search the Slumber, and then we're going to use the Slumber and then put 2 more back to draw 2 more cards. So we draw Freezing and Flashing. So now we can use those to go into Chaos Angel with 2 light monsters, and light's the important one, I would say, because it's unaffected by your opponent's monsters. And then here we can set 1 and then go into the end phase. So something here that I could have done that I didn't do was make Coral Dragon here and then link the Coral Dragon off and go into, what's it called, Spheres here. But the thing is to remember is that we cannot summon Runick cards in the extra monster zone, so we cannot go into, and Seal has to be in the extra monster zone, so we wouldn't be able to use Duality to go in the Unicorn. Also, we needed... we used this to get the draw immediately, not a delayed draw. So when we did the Rebellion for Regained and we synchroed, we could have gone into, again, that's where we could have went into Coral Dragon and then make Spheres, get the draw, and then we still have Sphere, Fountain, Regained, which is still solid, right? That's still like pretty good. But we went for a more greedier line here. So just keep in mind that you kind of have to make decisions based of what your opponent's playing, how many times you've been hand trapped, maybe you have to play more conservatively and things like that. So here we're going to add back to Cartesia. We are going to end phase search Magnemite, and then we are going to let your opponent draw. So ideally your opponent has 6 cards in hand. You summon Jerry, you use Jerry and the Fountain effect to put back and get back Fountain, draw a card. So now you have 5 cards in hand. And the reason this is very important, your opponent, I'm writing down stuff over on the side here, which is important. So on your opponent uses anything, you immediately chain the duality to summon Fabled Unicorn. Now the unicorn will immediately negate and destroy any card that is activated by your opponent that puts them down to 5 cards. And then when your opponent uses any more cards, so let's say they chain to that, now you can chain something like Flashing Fire, or you can chain something like Tip, or if they summon something, you can special summon Druisworm. You have a lot of ways to get your hand size in the correct way that you need it to be, so that you can keep matching your hand, so that Fabled Unicorn keeps negating and destroying stuff and getting a lot of free value. So just something to keep in mind. It's just the way that I play this. And then on your crackback turn, where you can start building your board again, you already have a tuner from coming back with the Cartesia. You have duality to be able to put back and draw. You're going to be able to regain from banishing with Druisworm and draw another card. You have a lot of things going for you. Another Fountain draw too. You are going to be miles ahead. I literally mean miles ahead. It is going to be a unlosable game state. So yeah, that is that hand. Next up, we have Regain, Destruction, Saronir, Dispelling, and Duality. So this is one with no tuner in the opening turn. So this is going to be a little bit more unoptimal. So here we're going to go, again, we're going to go draw phase. Very important, we go draw phase. Discard the Duality. So you have to immediately know that you're not going to be able to go for a Unicorn line here. But luckily, Duality actually gets graveyard value from how the card works, which is very nice. So you can activate Fountain. Tribute Summon the Saronir. Don't be afraid to do this if you don't have a tuner monster. Very important. Then you can use the Destruction to summon out Jerry. We need Jerry as a dark monster for possibly the duality to put back. But we also wanted a level 4 to clear this if we need to make a Chaos Angel. So we're going to use Fountain to put back, draw 2. We draw Aluber and Slumber. So now we are able to, I sneaker for Chaos Angel here. Use duality, banish, and then draw. Get Flashing Fire, activate Regain. So yeah, this is very important when you're playing this deck to understand. Not every hand is a perfect mesh like this. So like as an example, this hand does not mesh perfectly. Not every hand is going to be the crazy Baron, this Bystial Dispatter line. There's going to be hands that are like this where it doesn't look like a lot and you're getting delayed value and you have to like kind of wait a turn for it and you just need to survive. This is that hand. Also important was that this Saronir and the Jerry could have linked off. This would have been an example where you can go into SP Little Knight and then use the Little Knight effect to banish the Saronir and then put back for Regained to draw an additional card, and this would have been the Magnemite. So yeah, you can use the Regain before you link summon to banish your own Saronir, get an additional draw. This may not seem much better, but Little Knight baiting a battle phase is super important for the survival in a deck that outgrinds everything. Something this small makes a big difference, which obviously is true. You need to be able to live to get these delayed value cards that can get perpetual value throughout the game. Things like Fountain, Regain, and Magnemite every single turn, constantly triggering. It goes infinite. So when your opponent thinks that they're making the correct line to play through a Little Knight and summoning something like Fenrir and just going battle phase and attacking you, actually having either they can attack it and you just let it go if you want it to, or you can Flashing Fire it or Slumber it in battle phase so that they don't get any value off of it anymore. And now you are still holding the SP Little Knight as an interruption, which is very, very strong. So you might even be able to stop them in their plays now after this, which is really, really good. So yeah, even the boards like this don't seem like a lot, but they can be a lot, if that makes sense. And then lastly, the last replay, this is one's going to be the more best kind of case scenario, right? So here we have the Quem in hand, very important. Quem's like the shining star of the deck as the best tuner in here. Not for fusion purposes, but for synchro purposes. So we are going to draw phase, use Tip. This, again, is a weird line because of how much we have. We have a lot of good engine in our hand, so we can use it in a different way than just if we didn't have like Tip for Fountain and other Runick spells too. So, and the way I'm going to show you in a second how this is going to work. So we're going to activate Fountain, normal summon Quem effect dump Cartesia, and we're going to use Destruction to special summon Hugin. Now we have 3 trigger effects here that can go off. It is Hugin, Quem, and Fountain, because you special summon a monster and you activated a Runick spell, and a monster left the extra deck. So you have 3 different triggers that you can do here. And you can form this chain however you want to do it. So we can do it in a way where we actually get the 3rd draw off the Fountain while still being protected from things like Ash, but not activating the 3rd Runick spell, in this case being Slumber. So you get to hold a Slumber activation for possibly later in the turn, but you still get the Fountain draw for the same value that you didn't actually use it anything. So we get to go not Chain Link 1 Fountain. I don't know why I did it this way here. So here, I'll actually type it out. You can discard Slumber as Hugin for Chain Link 1, then Fountain Chain Link 2 to target the 3 spells in the graveyard, including the Slumber you just discarded. So you can target the Tip, Destruction, and Slumber. And then use Chain Link 3 Quem to special summon Cartesia to still protect the Fountain. So it is important to know that you cannot do this if there is no Runick spells in the graveyard already. Please do not do this if you do not have Runick spells in the graveyard already. You need to be able to legally activate Fountain. So don't do this in a line where you don't have a Runick spell yet. Very important. I know this like weird like scenarios like where that would, it's very rare where that will come up, or like people might have to like chain a Cosmic to the Runick spell that you activated to summon the Hugin, but it's happened, it can come up. So just remember, you have to be able to legally activate the card to do this before discarding off of the cost for a different card. So yeah, so here we can discard it. Remember, Chain Link 3 Quem is going to go first to special back the Cartesia, then the Fountain's going to resolve to draw the 3, and then we search for Fountain. And if you draw the Fountain there, it's unfortunate, but you chose a greedier line, I would say, to be able to do, but you get bigger value possibly out of it later on. So here we can Synchro Summon for Tri-Edge Master. Tri-Edge Master effect's going to draw us an additional card because this deck draws a million cards, as I said. Here, this is the best case scenario where we have a what's it called? A Bystial. We can use Saronir, banish the Cartesia, and then Synchro for Dispatter, and now Saronir can send Lubellion. We are able to use Dispatter to special back the Cartesia, Synchro Summon for Baron. Just like in the old Naturia Runick days, this is where we have Baron lines. There's also lines where if you don't have the if you don't have a Bystial monster in hand, you can just go straight into the Baron with a Coral Dragon line if you have more Runick cards, or if you just have one tuner. So you can go like let's say it's just Cartesia. You can go Cartesia, Hugin, Coral Dragon, and then you can do activate Fountain, use another Runick spell, summon Jerry, Synchro for Baron instead, and then that's still the same line. You get the extra draw and all that stuff. So this is only if you have the additional Bystial, so this is kind of like the best case scenario, right? Which comes up quite a bit. It's pretty, like, more often than you would think. So yeah, now you can tribute off the Dispatter for the Lubellion, and then Lubellion can activate the Regain. You don't care about tributing off the Dispatter because you're going to bring it back off the Regain anyway, so it's still going to be an interruption. Keep in mind, we're gonna end this turn without banish cards here, but because you're playing Runick cards, you have been banishing your opponent's cards. So because of that, you can still negate the a monster effect by your opponent. So Dispatter is not dead here just because there's nothing banished in this pile. There was stuff banished in this pile. And now we're able to set the duality, activate another Fountain, and then you can actually just summon out. You can just keep going if you want to, and just get extra draws to get value out of it. And then here you can chain block Fountain again, get back Fountain, put back, draw an additional card, draw Freezing. So yeah, we are very ahead. So again, now we are able to duality into Unicorn. On your opponent's turn, if they summon anything, get back the Dispatter again, which is live. You also have the magical 5 cards in hand. If they are at 6 ideally, and they activate anything, same thing, chain duality, summon something, negate and destroy it. You are, again, so far ahead. Cartesia coming back is very important for the getting the enough cards in hands, as well as the Magnum Search sometimes, as you saw in the previous replay. So yeah, so that is going to be it for the replays. There's probably still more lines I could do in this deck because this deck is so complicated and annoying. But the most important thing is this deck is a long-term deck. Sometimes your board's going to end like this. Sometimes your board's going to end like this. Sometimes your board's going to end like this. You never know how it's going to end. Very important to keep track of. You have to decide that as you are going. It is very difficult to like figure out which way you need to for the deck to go. So that is going to be it for all the replays and the deck profile. Overall, I hope you guys enjoyed. This is something that I have kind of missed a little bit because I do love this deck so much. I really enjoyed making this with Mike, and I wish I did better at Nats with it, but it is what it is. And yeah, so again, if you enjoyed, please subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye, guys.